we also have Ilmari here from For Good Games, and hopefully we'll be kicking off on how doing good in games is hard. So Ilmari, are you joining us? There you go. Hey, how you doing? Good. So you're going to tell us all about the challenges of making games for good.
Yes, I'm going to be talking about, well, For Good Games, our company, and about some of the challenges that we've encountered on the short journey that we've had so far.
Great stuff. I'll leave you to it.
Thank you. I'll just start by sharing my screen. There we go.
Yeah, that's looking good.
Okay. So, hello, Pocket Gamer Digital. My name is Ilmari Hakkola. I'm the founder and the CEO of For Good Games. I'm super excited to be here. This is my first time speaking in Pocket Gamer Connects or Digital, and also one of the first times I'm talking about this topic in general, our company and the mission, the social impact mission that we have. So I'm going to start by, just telling shortly about myself and what I've done before, and then that will lead into how we started For Good Games, what we are doing, and some of the challenges that we've encountered. So I've been in mobile games for 15 years now. I've always worked in the creative side of things. I'm not a business guy, just so you know. I worked as a graphic artist, as an animator, as a compositor, as a sound designer, and a musician. I started first time at Rovio Mobile in 2005 when the company was just set up. I stayed there for 2 years working as a graphic designer. Joined another games company called Red Links, known from their trial series of games. That was half a year's gig. I was working there as a compositor. And then after that, I started my own company called Combo. The company was not a games company, it was a production company. We did a lot of animated content for different kinds of things, mainly for Finnish advertising agencies, other production companies, music videos, company presentations, all kinds of different things. One of the clients we had was Rovio, because we had some common history with them. And one of the things we did for them was the launch trailer of Angry Birds. Sorry, someone is trying to message me on my phone. Sorry about that. Yeah, we did the launch trailer for the first Angry Birds game. It hasn't really, gained traction that much. I think it was already, gaining some traction, but after that it started really to pick up, and it became the big phenomena that we know. I think 1 year, 2 years after this, Rovio started to think about expanding the universe of the birds, and they started to think about creating this animated series out of the characters. And they were actually looking for a production partner who could execute the production with them. And actually, they acquired our company, and we became the in-house animation department of Rovio. And we took the simple game characters, the simple stories that the game had at that point, and then started to expand the universe in thinking, what are the places the birds live in, and what is the relationship between the characters and so on. During that time, I actually departed from animation and started running the audio department of Rovio, doing sound design and music for the production that we had. We worked on a lot of different productions, games and animations. We also worked on the movie. So I worked there for 6 years, and during this time, we saw the games industry transition from premium games into free-to-play games. And I also think that we saw kind of a transforming ambition being in game design, and coming up with new unique game concepts, into the ambition moving towards the monetization design, which meant that we started to follow what was working on the markets. And after a while, I had been working on quite many matching games. I think like 4 years ago, maybe through the birth of my first kid, maybe it was late 30s crisis, or because people start to think about these things in general at some point, in their lives, I started more and more to realize that the world is quite fucked up. We are destroying ecosystem. There's huge loss in biodiversity on this planet, and we're seeing the mass extinction of animals. We are accelerating the climate change, and the climate change has devastating consequences. So knowing all this, I started to feel quite absurd that I basically live in paradise called Finland, where we get so much. We have free education, free healthcare. We basically get to do whatever we want to, and then I'm working in mobile games. I'm creating these simple mobile games where we're basically trying to invent different ways of monetizing the players. I felt that my work didn't have much purpose. I felt it like it didn't have meaning. So, I thought that I should be able to do more. I thought that a company should be able to do more. And I had to decide that should I leave games completely, join Greenpeace, or go help the refugees to the Mediterranean Ocean, or is there something that I could do within games? And then I came up with this this quite naive idea of, why don't we make great games which make a lot of money, which then could be used for saving the world? And then, why don't we engage the players with this purpose? Developers are constantly seeking for different ways of engaging the players, making them play their games, stay within their games. This could be just inventing new gameplay mechanics, adding social elements to their games, adding campaigns, competitions. So we thought that, why don't we make the play session meaningful, adding purpose to these games? Like, when the players are playing a super simple game, but they know that each minute they spend inside the game, each purchase they do, each advertisement they watch, that would contribute to the betterment of this planet. There's always been serious games or games for impact or educational games, charity games, but what usually combines this is that they are not super inviting. They are not super attractive for the masses. They might be really good games. They definitely talk about super important topics, but they don't appeal to the masses. They might get 5,000 or 10,000 players, but if you really want to make an impact, you need to get like plus 100 million people playing our games. So this is what we took as our starting point. We go great games first. We want to create great, engaging, fun, casual games, which are engaging for wide audiences, and then just add that charity layer or social impact layer on top of that, to make it even more engaging, to make the play sessions feel meaningful. So, this is how we got started with For Good Games. And the first thing we did was, it was a bit of a miss or concept we did. It was when Trump was elected, as the president of the US, we came up with this stupid idea of an IP called the United States of Absurdia, a universe of alternative facts. And it would be an idle clicker game, and the player's mission would be to build a wall around Absurdia to prevent brain leakage from the country. All the scientists and the artists, they're trying to leave the country. And then, the players compete by who creates the longest wall. And then all the profit that we'd make from this game, we would put into anti-Trump action. Okay, a stupid idea. Fun idea, you could do some sort of a viral hit with this. But then again, politics doesn't really fit casual games. You put a lot of people off. It's also very difficult to get into partnerships with NGOs or companies because of the topic. So we thought that we need to have a bit of a different approach and do something which is more appealing for the big masses. And it's kind of obvious thinking of the mission. Nature, of course, is a great thing. It's a great brand in itself. Everyone loves nature. Everyone loves animals. So we started to think about an IP which would have an environmental theme. And that's when we came up with Planet Patrol. Planet Patrol is a diverse team of everyday superheroes whose mission is to save the planet through science. The game itself is a physics-based puzzle match game where the player's mission is to clean the planet from waste. The target audience we have for the game is plus 30-year-old women, because they're the biggest group of both puzzle gamers, but also the biggest group of people who donate for charity. And then in the game, we'd have in-game events or campaigns, which would be tied to real-world charity campaigns. And then, players would be engaged through this. So having this idea, we went to see some investors. We showed this for them and said that, okay, we're going to make this great game. We're going to put 50% of profits away for charity. And they said that, probably it's not going to work. I mean, making great games is difficult in the first place, and you're going to give half of the money away. How are you going to get the users? I'd rather give the money for the NGOs directly, because there's a lot bigger chance that the money would actually end up to the right place instead of risking it and giving it to you. So, we kind of understood that we really need to build a better business case out of this. I mean, we saw that this is the business case, but we had to clarify it a bit. So this is a user acquisition business case. We believe that having strong mission like this, it helps us to lower the CPI in order for us to build a return of ad spend positive product. The early tests that we did with the core was that we saw a significant difference, in the CPI cost. Having charity aspect put into the UA campaigns that we did, there was a big difference. And of course, this is to be taken with a grain of salt, because we're no UA experts. This was basically just us messing around with Facebook Ads Manager. I know some animation, so I was working on the charity campaigns and so on. But still, I mean, it was really promising for us. We started to believe more in the concept, and it also convinced some investors. We also think that, we're going to have better organic growth just through word of mouth, better media coverage. We believe that we can get that. We can get influencers on board. Of course, this is just, this is something you can't really predict, but we think that it's possible. And especially, we are looking to user acquisition through partnerships. We were really inspired by what Seriously did with Best Fiends and their Race Against Slime campaign. That was a campaign done in 2014, December. It was a campaign run over 1 week with Ellen DeGeneres show, and then 5 different YouTube influencers who had lots of followers. And in the campaign, players' mission was to, they could join one of the influencers teams, and then they had a goal of beating 100 million slugs inside the game. And then the winning team, they get to decide where the prize money, which was 100K, put into the campaign by Seriously and Ellen DeGeneres Show, who kind of launched this campaign. So they could decide where the money will be put. And during this week, the game got 2.6 million downloads. The daily active users rose by 600,000 players. It was a record revenue month for them. So, of course, it was a huge effort to put this campaign up, but we thought that, it would be nice to do something like this, but on a continuous basis. So this is basically the idea. We can do campaigns. There are hundreds or thousands different NGOs who are doing important things, and then we can hook them up with different celebrities, even politicians or writers or different people, and create monthly campaigns where we can put have the influencers have charity of their choice, and then tie the in-game content that we do to these campaigns, and then offer something really unique each month for the players. And like I said, only these are one of the biggest, but these influencers and these NGOs combined, they have over 1 billion subscribers. So I think there's a lot of possibilities here. Okay, so now that we have these campaigns, actually just like a few things about the challenges regarding the partnerships. I mean, of course, it's super difficult for us to approach, the big players, the big influencers, and like World Wildlife Fund at this stage, where we actually don't really have a game, or we just have the test launch. We don't have a user base. We don't have a lot of revenue. So, we have quite a little to offer for them at this point. But there are a lot of, smaller NGOs who are doing important things, and they're a lot easier to, start this thing with. They would probably really happy to do a pilot project with us where we can see that can we really engage players through this? What are the different ways of implementing the charities, the campaigns through a game in a way that it feels like it's an integral part of the game and is really engaging. And then, when we can prove this and we get some really good results, then we can go to the bigger players, to the influencers, to see that, this is what we can do. This is how we can engage users, create new donators for you. This is how we can build profit for you. And, then we can go for the bigger partnerships. So, we need to get some money for this to get rolling. The problem is that our promise of, putting 50% of our, purchases and ad revenue for these campaigns, it really equals to nothing if there's no profit. And it's very probable that, during the first 1 to 3 years, we're not going to make much profit. So, how do we get this going? We thought about doing direct donations that players would have a button inside the game where, they could donate money. We even thought about including like in-app purchases where there would be some sort of slider where the players could increase the amount of money that, they want to put to charity. But of course, I mean, this is really difficult. Apple takes a cut unless we get a deal with Apple that they don't take a cut from these donations. There are taxes. I mean, donations for charity, at least in Finland, they're not tax-free. So if we put like 50% of our profit to charity, that would still be taxable income. There's the operation expenses. So it's really difficult to communicate for the players that, okay, you didn't donate €1 for this cost, but actually 20 cents will be put through that cost. It feels quite shady. So we thought that we'd actually approach this by, not telling the players that they would be actually donating anything, but they would just, play a good game, have fun with the game, and then we would donate the money for them. But we still need the money. So, what are the possibilities that we have? We have two ideas. One is that we establish this like for good fund, which basically would be us giving away equity. I don't know, 5%, 10% from an investor who would invest 1 million to the company, and that would be kind of the charity fund. It would kind of be a marketing thing for us to get this going, and the investor would know that that money would be used for good. Other thing we will look into or are looking into is company sponsors. So, in addition to having a charity partner, an NGO in our game, an influencer, we can also have company sponsors who get visibility through the campaigns and through the game. And then, they would put the 10K or 20K for this charity inside the campaign. In the long run, of course, it would be amazing that we'd see some sort of charity ecosystem inside applications where, Apple or Google, they would make it possible for the developers to place, donation in-app purchases inside their games. And I don't see why this is not possible, because, Facebook is doing this all the time. There's a lot of like charity campaigns that users are setting up, and they just created an ecosystem for that. The biggest problem we have at the moment is that, Apple has this policy of no charity is allowed in their games. We can't tell the players that, anything from what they paid to the game would be put for charity. We can't mention that on our website. And I totally get this because, there's so much scams and shady things done in the name of charity, and Apple has no way of controlling of, what the companies would then do with this money. Also, Facebook has a policy with their advertisements that you can't really talk about social issues. You can't talk about environmental issues. So it makes it really difficult for us to create any ad campaigns where we would mention this. So, how do we communicate our mission? That's something we haven't really solved. I think it's partly, just like creating a brand which is known. At the moment, we're just a small company that no one knows. We have some really good backers, the investors. They have a good name. But of course, making a great game, getting a big user base, being really transparent on how we communicate and how we, use money, doing smaller partnerships with believable partners. I think those are all like stepping stones to making this possible. So yeah, something about the next steps that we're gonna do, which is closed our seed round, which is great. We get to hire some people and we can actually start working on the game. So far, it's been mainly me and my co-founder, a programmer. Then we used some friends and freelancers to do the test launch of the game. So yeah, we're scaling the team up. We are currently working on a meta game, trying to create different ways of implementing the campaigns to the game so that it feels engaging and fun. We start to develop new games for new audiences. We will soft launch Planet Patrol, or it might become something else that might not be the name, but we will soft launch the game this year. And then just, my mission statement in the end. We all know these things, of course, and they've been talked in this conference as well, but, just about companies. Companies have huge effect to our lives, through the marketing, through the branding that they have. They really guide our values and desires, and, they define how we consume and what we want to consume. Companies, they control most of the wealth, most of the monies in the world. Most of the money flows through companies. Through their policies, they really define how the human and natural resources of this planet are used. The tax policies that they have, of course, have huge impact on societies. How much money there will be for keeping up the societies. Currently, there's over $7 trillion hidden in tax havens. What could be done with that money? So, it is said that the change starts from individuals, but there's so many different sectors that need to do their part, and I think companies really need to change. And of course, we've seen a lot of good development in companies, especially in gaming companies, but really the starting point for or purpose for companies can't be just adding value for shareholders. I think the ultimate purpose for any company should be in the end creating value, for the world, for the planet. That's it. I kind of started my clock a bit late, so I don't know how much time there is, but I'm.
No, it's all good. It's all good. And we've got a couple of minutes left for questions if people want to raise them. I mean, to my mind, the key issue here is, I think you highlighted it. There's a lot of things that make it difficult for us to actually act in a proper way in terms of doing good. I think some of those are understandable. For example, I kind of get why Apple aren't keen on having people mention charities, because imagine trying to police the kind of the promises games companies make. There are so many people who would potentially, whether deliberately or unintentionally, make promises about what they were going to share, and Apple obviously couldn't realistically manage that. It was too complicated.
Unless they would have some sort of ecosystem for that, where
exactly. I mean, I know they do the Red event, and my understanding though is that it doesn't prevent you from doing something. It just determines how you communicate it.
Yeah.
And I think, you've got to be very careful. I mean, we were looking at a number of options around this for a particular game. And in particular, the idea of, if you say of your profits, that's a different thing than if you say of the revenue you take. Or if you say you're going to donate a certain amount each month, I think that's allowable, provided it's coming from you and it's not drawing into question or highlighting the problem of the revenue share model. I think that's okay.
Maybe.
Facebook one's more challenging though, isn't it?
Sorry, what is?
The Facebook restrictions, I think, are a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, it could be more challenging. It might be related to the election, which is going on. We're not sure if it's that, but in general, like Facebook ads, it's kind of hit and miss. I mean, some people know what words to use and, you know, how much text you can use in the ads. So it might be that it's just because we're not that familiar with the ads platform in general.
But I think, again, you can make personal messages, you can use community experiences. And I think, you know, having that authenticity is key. And you talked about using influencers. I mean, is that really the way to sort of to raise awareness, not necessarily relying on the platform themselves, but relying on the environment, the community around the game?
What kind of?
So I mean, just saying, is it that, you know, we're often thinking too much about in-game and we're not thinking enough about out-of-game? So all of the communication channels, so through influencers on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, and whatever else, Discord groups, is it not the case that we should be thinking about that aspect of communication?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You're totally right that it's not just, you know, what we say, but of course it's about the campaigns and how the NGOs and how the influencers communicate about this. But yeah, you're definitely right that, you know, that there's so many different channels that we can put this message in.
No, absolutely. And I think it's about empowering people to feel capable, to feel that they're, you know, again, this comes back to some of the work we did with Internet of Elephants, with the game Wilderverse. You know, was trying to think about how we put you in the shoes of the people who are doing something, so that you could feel empowered and understand what's going on for those people and give it context, hope almost.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that was great. Thank you very much for doing that. I think it's a really important area. We're going to move on to our next panel now. So thank you, Ilmari, for helping us with that.
Have a great
so I mean, hopefully, you know, what we've talked about today with this section is, you know, just how important the visions, values, you know, is to the industry in general, and also, you know, what we as indies can do by thinking about that.